Sports, I'm Gargi Raut. It's our last day in Colombo. Last night we saw India steamrolling Pakistan. No contest at all there. And today we're going to talk about how this Indian team is mastering the art of course correction. Joining me today for this show is Ashok Nambudiri. We're at Goalface. You can see the beautiful sea behind us. And we're just enjoying the views here. But also we will talk about the Indian batting lineup. Ashok, out of the 3 games that India has played, Wankhede surface was difficult, Colombo surface was difficult, but at the same time, India stumbled but gathered themselves. What does this tell you about the adaptability that this Indian batting lineup brings?
I think that's a new muscle memory that the Indian team is picking up, and it's much needed. I don't think India quite stumbled, but various situations happen in a match, and that maturity to then determine that these conditions are different, you need to adapt to it, you need to then play differently, and therefore do something else tactically from what you have pre-decided, is that maturity that India is bringing to the table. So if I take last night's match, for example, I think when we lost Abhishek Sharma out on the first ball, Ishan Kishan, in the form of his life, went helter-skelter with his runs, 77 with 3 sixes and 10 fours. That man is in the form of his life. But then, in the power play, India registered 52. And then by the end of the 10th over, we were at about 82, if I'm not wrong. Between 10th and 14th, Surya Kumar Yadav and Tilak Verma actually went a little slow. They realized that this pitch is different. The ball is gripping the surface and therefore difficult to get away. The boundaries are long, and therefore they decided to build that partnership. With those singles, one could accuse them of being a bit slow, but they realized that this surface is different. And then they took it deep so that Rinku Singh and Shivam Dube could come in at the end and score that valuable 16-20 runs that was much needed.
And the fact is, when that partnership was happening, Ashok, Tilak Verma was already playing a very...
Wow.
Can't get better than this.
Yeah, we were just wondering whether there is a train service on this line.
And we were not standing there on the tracks. But at the same time, when we talk about that partnership, and we were in the stands for this particular match, we could see the reactions around us. Everyone was quite frustrated with the way that Tilak Verma and Surya Kumar Yadav were playing. There were multiple friends who were in conversation with me on text and WhatsApp and whatever. And everyone was saying, why are they playing like this? Why are they playing like this? And I was trying to make them understand that this is a very tricky surface. This is probably the most turn that we've seen throughout this World Cup, this particular strip that we had. At the same time, if you want to understand just how difficult shot making was, you've got to go back and see how Shivam Dube was tackling it. Because yes, Surya and Tilak Verma, notice how both of them were batting. They were batting with a straight bat. They were batting with a straight bat and were showing the face of the bat to the ball, and were not trying any horizontal shots at that point at all. When Shivam Dube came and he was trying to swing, and Shivam Dube is a very powerful man. He hits boundaries. He doesn't even have to move his foot to clear the stands and put the ball in the stands. But at the same time, Shivam Dube was having difficulty clearing that boundary. And that's when I looked back to you and said, look, if Shivam Dube is having trouble clearing the boundary, then you can tell how difficult shot making is on this wicket. So that's how the recalibration was happening between Tilak and Surya.
Absolutely. And I think the other word that we need to bring in here is application. I think we spoke about it last evening as well, which is that you then need to apply. And the best test of that is the comparison with what Pakistan did, So jumping quickly to the Pakistan innings, they should have realized that the template for batting for yesterday was set by Surya Kumar Yadav and by Tilak Verma, and it needed that restraint. When before the match we talked about the par score being 170. So when India was within striking distance of 170, there should be trust in the process. Say that this is the par score, and so long as we are breaching that par score, we are in a good place. Have the confidence that you have the bowling resources to get the opposition out well within that. And that's how they went about it. It was a very professional, very clinical, very, very assured kind of performance that they put in.
And the other thing is, the question here was, how is India going to tackle Usman Tariq? Now, Usman Tariq's bowling in itself is not something that is extraordinary, but at the same time that action leaves you puzzled, right? That little pause leaves you puzzled. And Surya Kumar Yadav, we've spoken about this in yesterday's show as well, post show, that Surya Kumar Yadav's pause, not taking a trigger movement, and him figuring that out. Now, after we had that conversation, I went back to that video of Surya Kumar Yadav bowling and imitating Usman Tariq to Rinku Singh, and I looked back, even Rinku Singh was not making his trigger movement in the net. So this is something that the management and the coaching staff must have thought of while taking on or preparing for Usman Tariq. Now I also remember that Tilak Verma had come out in that press conference and spoken about the fact that, look, we also have technology. We're prepared for every team. We're analyzing all the bowlers. We're analyzing all the batters. And clearly this is the analysis that was being talked about.
Totally. When you talk about adapting to the conditions, course correction, I think this is the other factor, which is that when you have a bowler, a perceived threat, and not even a threat, because at the end of the day, if you see, there was really no threat. But that perceived threat that here's a bowler who's got a different kind of an action, there is a pause. The team went back, did the homework, and you're right. What Surya Kumar Yadav has done effectively in yesterday's match is to set the template to take on Usman Tariq. And this is a template that not just India, but all batting teams can actually now replicate. And you're absolutely right. The trick was to basically just stay still. If you go back and look at that video, you will see that he's absolutely still, not making a move, waiting for Usman Tariq to deliver, and he's got those 3 or 4 variations, and depending on that, then you make your shot making, and that's how they countered it. And I think this is exemplary, if you ask me, in terms of course correction, in terms of application.
Ashok, going back to that Mumbai innings as well from the Indian batting lineup, and which is where I was talking about India stumbling. That was a proper collapse from the top order. Abhishek Sharma, another duck for him in that World Cup. He's not come good so far. Of course, he has the potential to. One match he did not play, and 2 other he got out for a duck. But at that point, the way that Tilak Verma explained it was he was getting the shots to. The ball was coming onto his bat, and everyone thought that it was not an easy, but a normal surface, and not the analysis that they made later. At the same time, the kind of innings that Surya Kumar Yadav once played, if you look back on that innings as well, he was actually not going ultra aggressive. And this is the thing, when India went into this World Cup, everybody thought that India's X factor is the aggressiveness. Abhishek Sharma and Ishan Kishan at the top, but it's proved to be completely opposite. In fact, what makes this Indian team a champion team is the fact that they've been able to adapt.
Yeah, I mean, when you have strengths and when you use the phrase you play to your strengths, I think that's much misunderstood. Playing to your strengths means that you really look at what are the assets that you have and figure out what you can do differently depending on the conditions. So you're absolutely right. I think in the matches against New Zealand, what we saw was that the run rate was maintained. The tempo was never dropped. And if we lost 1 or 2 wickets in the top order, it didn't mean that you would slow down the pace. You would keep going, right? Because you can bat deep and you leverage that. Here, that you also have the ability, and I think that's what Captain Surya Kumar Yadav and Tilak Verma brings, which is that, we often call them the glue to hold the innings together, but to kind of strategically slow down the pace, get a grip of things, go deep, and wait for your Shivam Dube and Rinku Singh to come in and score those 15-16 runs. Like I said in the 10 o'clock show, Pakistan finally lost by 61 runs. But I would think that 15-20 runs that they added could have made a crucial difference if it had gone down to the wire.
Even now that you talk about Shivam Dube and Rinku Singh, if you look back on their innings as well, Ashok, Shivam Dube wasn't going after every ball. He was waiting to make those shots. He was not going after big shots, and that kind of tells you that even though Shivam Dube is the kind of batter that is being sent in to go ultra aggressive, he is still someone who can adapt to the situation and wait for the loser deliveries. Yesterday you saw that old T20 template of waiting for the loose delivery was being played out and not exactly making the shots.
You make a very good point here. Absolutely. When you go back and look at that innings that Shivam Dube played, I think he came in and he expected to kind of let the ball come on. He thought the ball would come on and he would be able to tonk it over the boundary. But that was not to be, and he therefore said, okay, these are different conditions, let me kind of play it differently. He waited and course corrected, and that's really what helped him to score those valuable I think 25, 26 runs or so that he scored. I think that was absolutely a masterclass in course correction. In contrast, if you look at somebody of the stature of Babar Azam and that wide shot that he played, you would expect him to come and lead from the front at that stage where it is difficult conditions. He's perhaps not in the best of form, but that's where you say you have the courage to say, I'm going to stick in there. I'm going to rotate the strike, give an opportunity to the other batsmen, but figure out what needs to be done. We didn't see that coming through from any of the Pakistani batsmen last night.
Not at all. In fact, look at Babar Azam's innings. He was playing his natural innings, which is kind of slow for modern T20 eyes. But at the same time, he was not able to connect any of the shots. And the shot that he played against Akshar Patel was absolutely unnecessary. It was an absolute, what we call it, tukka swing, ki lag gaya to lag gaya, chala jayega shot. There was no logic behind that shot at all. And it's disheartening to think from the Pakistan perspective, the kind of fans that traveled here. Yesterday also, Ashok, we were leaving the stadium and I overheard a gentleman on the phone, very somber mood, and he's telling his friend, I'm never coming back to watch these guys again. They don't know how to bat. They always lose to India. I'm never coming back. How do you think the fans are feeling at the moment?
Oh, absolutely let down. I mean, you're right. We saw that fan really on the phone, almost in tears, talking about how much they had invested in terms of time and effort to
Money.
come. Money, of course, yes, to come and watch this match. And he said that he's not going to ever come back again. I think this India-Pakistan rivalry can be laid to rest. And I think we are right in the sense that let's look beyond this, because I think this template or the skill set that is required, I think India just decimated them. I think the bandwidth to manage Bumrah or manager Hardik Pandya, I don't think some of the batsmen are really equipped with the tools to manage this kind of bowling attack, and so I think it's important that now India looks ahead and says, okay, so what have we learned from the 3 matches so far? It's been great going, but I think, iron out some of these things that we talked about. I think this course correction template that Gargi you've articulated, I think that is going to be the mantra really going forward in this World Cup.
Sticking on the topic of India versus Pakistan, yesterday Ishan Kishan made a tweet, not tweet, an Instagram post, a picture with Jasprit Bumrah, and you know what he captioned it? He said, "What doesn't kill you," and in the brackets he writes, "does hurt you badly, makes you stronger." So he was referring to that
to the toe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But talk about Ishan Kishan.
That's a lovely post, by the way. It's very fascinating. I think, Ishan Kishan, this is a fascinating story. A man who was out in the wilderness for 2 years. He comes back and proves himself in the domestic tournaments in the Vijay Hazare Trophy. I think he did an exemplary job. And the team, Gautam Gambhir, I think it's also important to talk about Ajit Agarkar and Gautam Gambhir here. They had the courage to say, here's a man who has the potential, who's demonstrated it, and he's come back. And like I said, he's in the form of his life. The other aspect, I think, is that he's grown. I think, when you say that a person has grown over a period of 1 or 2 years, or perhaps even a few months, it means that the man has become a better version of himself. And I think that is kind of evident in the body language, the attitude that he brings to the team. I'm sure that there is an element of growth there, and which is just absolutely fascinating.
I think Shomik was speaking about it, that Ishan Kishan, throughout the 2 years that he was out of the system, he worked on his game quite a lot. He was very vulnerable throughout those 2 years as well, where he actually opened up, took accountability for everything that's going wrong with his game, and he worked on those things. And the Ishan Kishan that has come out the other end is a completely different Ishan Kishan compared to what we've seen before. Yes, he's always had the potential, but the kind of confidence and self-assurance that you see in an Ishan Kishan now is maybe not something you would have found a couple of years ago. Although he did go out there and score a lot of runs for Team India, but unfortunately, due to that little tussle with BCCI and not playing domestic games, everything that went down tells you 2 good things. people can make comebacks no matter how hard it gets. Number two, BCCI management did not hold a grudge. It could have been very easy for them to say, okay, you know what, we're just going to ignore him, and because there's no dearth of talent. But at the same time, Ishan Kishan made himself unmissable, and the BCCI management came around as well.
Yeah, and perhaps the only other thing to mention there is that when you grab an opportunity, you grab it with both hands, and I think this is the best template that we have seen. I mean, it's a little quite fascinating, Gargi, to think about the fact that he was not in the scheme of things a few months back, right? So he was not in the first pick of the squad. So here he comes, he gets an opportunity, and now he's irreplaceable.
Absolutely, and that's where you have to give the management credit for bringing him back in the team at the right time. If that had not happened, maybe we would have missed out on the peak of Ishan Kishan, and that's so important in T20 as Ashok. I do believe that when it comes to the shortest format of the game, it comes down to a form format where if you miss out on a player's peak and you're not able to utilize them in that time slot, you might just miss out on your best player.
Oh, totally, absolutely. And given the depth of talent that's sitting out there, you will need to manage this very, very well, and therefore your systems have to be robust. I think India is in a great place, but it's important that we are able to groom this talent and not miss out on some of these opportunities. Gargi, one thing that I think we have missed out in this in terms of course correction, we spoke about the batting. I think I'd like to call out Jasprit Bumrah yesterday, and the way he came in that first over and took those 2 wickets, reducing Pakistan to a loss of 3 wickets in the first 2 overs, and I think it was practically over at that stage. I thought that between him and Hardik Pandya, there was also quite a lot of course correction in terms of the fact that they came in, they understood the wicket, and they went after the Pakistani batsmen who, like I said, just don't have the skills to face up to these two. But I think the fact that they got those extra overs and, in the power play, they bowled 4 overs.
Yeah.
I think that was also understanding the conditions, understanding the opposition is on the back foot, and then going for the kill.
And the fact is, the kind of support that they were giving each other. Whenever Hardik Pandya was bowling, Jasprit Bumrah was on mid-on. And vice versa as well. When Jasprit Bumrah was bowling, Hardik Pandya would come and field on at mid-on. So that's the kind of, and they were constantly talking to each other through in the middle of the overs. And the other part is they understood the surface really, really well. You look back on how Hardik Pandya was bowling, he was taking pace off that ball, and that's the deliveries that he got those wickets on. At the same time, if you look at Jasprit Bumrah as well, he was spot on with the variations that he was using, and he knew exactly what he wanted to do. The other thing here is, I thought personally, and I kept telling you, that I think it's going to be Hardik Pandya from one end who will start, Jasprit Bumrah, Hardik Pandya again, and then they'll put a spinner on. But no, they completed their 2 overs quota in the power play, which is not something people would have thought would have been likely on a surface like that. They would have thought something like a Pakistan start with a spinner. But no, they trusted each other. They trusted pace bowling on that tricky surface as well. They did exactly the right things that were asked of them, and they delivered.
Oh yes, I think T20 is becoming a game where your variations are perhaps more important than your mainstay bowling, and we saw it yesterday with the Pakistani bowlers. The way Abrar Ahmed, didn't really read the pitch, I thought, and he kept bowling those fastish deliveries, and the Indian batsmen really took him to the cleaners. I think the spinners who realized that this surface is going to be a little slow, the ball is going to be gripping, and they kind of leverage that, they got the purchase. But if you kind of kept going with your stock ball, you would definitely not end up with what you really wanted.
Okay, final couple of minutes on the show. We are getting overheated. The phone is also getting overheated because unlike yesterday, it's actually incredibly hot outside today.
Yes,
yesterday it was very pleasant. A good day for the fans who could actually sit out there in the stands and enjoy the game and not be completely drenched in sweat. But that's not the case today. You can see the amount of sun on us at the moment. How are you looking at India's rest of the campaign?
I think India started out as the favorites and still is the favorites. There are a couple of teams which have caught my fancy. I fancy South Africa quite a lot. I also like the way West Indies has been playing, and Zimbabwe, of course. You cannot rule them out either. But India is in a good place, I think, mentally, in terms of talent deployment, in terms of reading the conditions, in terms of the choices. This team has been laying emphasis on versatility and flexibility. And I think both in terms of batting and bowling, if there's one takeaway at the end of the three matches, it is perhaps that India has the range. And therefore, how do you kind of pick and choose between these options? Not just in terms of selection of the final playing 11, but also during the course of the 20 overs is what's going to determine success.
I think I also am on the same page. I think this is India's World Cup to lose. They are looking like a very, very well-rounded team. They are a very well-balanced team as well. No matter what combination you pick out of the 15, it always looks like a winning combination. It always looks like a full-strength team. No matter Jasprit Bumrah in or out, no matter Kuldeep Yadav in or out, Abhishek Sharma, or even an Arshdeep Singh if he's not in the team. It looks like a full-strength team with every possible combination that you can think of. Maybe Sanju Samson is a little bit of a, if Abhishek Sharma is not there. But going forward, doesn't seem like, if God forbid something happens to Abhishek Sharma, Sanju Samson needs to step it up. Yeah, you got
on that note, I must make a quick point. This morning I took an Uber, and for me, this Colombo trip has been about conversations with the Uber drivers. And this guy's name was Sandeep Gargi. Would you believe it? And I said, that's a very Indian name. And you know what he said?
Yeah.
He said, my father is an avid cricket fan, and he called me Sandeep after Sandeep Patil.
My goodness.
How's that for a coincidence, right?
Wow.
So then I asked him, who's your favorite Indian cricketer? And without a hesitation, he said Sanju Samson. So I asked him, why do you like Sanju Samson? I want to decode why this immense fan following for this man. So the guy said he's simple, he's down to earth, and he's got oodles of natural talent. He's like Mahela Jayawardena. He doesn't train much. He's not a fitness enthusiast, but he just plays from natural talent. That I thought was very, very interesting.
We've run into a lot of fans, especially Uber drivers, who are always talking about cricket for some reason and always bring a Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma and MS Dhoni. So they're still reminiscing the old days of Indian cricket while a new era has started for Team India. On that note, we'll take your leave. India are the favourites to win this World Cup. Whether or not they can continue this momentum is something we will have to wait and watch. Team Rev Sports now heads to Ahmedabad, where India will take on their fourth match of this T20 World Cup campaign.